Today we're going to explain to you the 2006 science fiction action thriller film called Children of Men. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In 2027, women will become infertile. No children have been born for 18 years. Most countries in the world will have collapsed. The UK is a remaining nation with a functioning government. People around the world find all their way to enter the UK, making the country into chaos. To deal with the mass flows of illegal immigrants, the UK establishes an army. Meanwhile, a group of immigrant activists called Fishes also created to fight for the immigrants' rights. In a coffee shop, people watch the latest news on London TV about the death of the youngest person in the world. He was 18 years old by the time he was murdered. To the crowd's sadness and stun, a man Theo walks into the shop, ordering a cup of black coffee. After that, he quickly leaves for work, seemingly indifferent about the news. Just a minute after he stops to add some liquor to his coffee, the shop is exploded by a bomb. Theo arrives at work in the Ministry of Energy after the incident. He can see his colleagues still sorrow and grieve over the boy's death. Theo knocks on the manager's room. He tells the boss that he needs to go home, making an excuse about the boy's death that has affected him. When Theo is on the train, there are some people throwing rocks on the windows from outside. He seems used to it and doesn't find it bothering. When the train stops, he walks out, surrounded by people literally caged in. They are illegal immigrants and are rounded up by British military forces to be deported. It turns out Theo left his work to see his friend who lives outside London, Jasper, a former political activist. While the two chat about the bombing and the boy's death, which happens on the same day, they see a bus full of immigrants are on the way to be expelled. The car stops at a bush where Jasper hid the way leading to his house in a deep forest. Jasper lives with his wife, who suffers from catatonia, growing cannabis for a living. At night, the two men enjoy the new taste of cannabis that Jasper grew and discuss the world's issues. However, while Jasper is in favor of the Human Project, a program aiming to cure women and men's fertility, Theo considers it is no use to do so, and the world will face extinction anyway. The two continue to enjoy the pot and the music. The following morning, Theo wakes up and goes to work as his routine. On the way, there are cages packed with immigrants and the police aggressively drags them. When passing a small memorial for the boy's death the previous day, Theo is kidnapped by the Fish. In a dark room, Theo realizes the kidnappers are led by his ex-wife, Julian. The couple separated after their son's death in the 2008 flu epidemic. Julian asks if Theo can use the network, his cousin, to get the transit papers for a young woman refugee. In return, the Fish will give him £5,000. Theo opposes strongly, but as the Fish intimidate, Theo has to accept their deal. The Fish drives Theo to a strange road and abandons him with £5,000. Theo heads to the cousin's house and pretends to visit him, Nigel. He is the government minister. In the meals, Theo asks if Nigel can help him with transit papers for a refugee woman, as he lies, whom he has a romantic relationship with. Later, Nigel can obtain the papers, but Theo has to go with her as the papers require. The following morning, Theo teams up with Julian, Luke, her subordinate, Key, the refugee woman, and the midwife, Miriam. They will drive to the southern coast of England. On the way, while Julian and Theo play a game, a burning car suddenly rushes down from the slope. Then a group of mobs attack the five. A moment later, two guys on a dust bike chases the car and Julian gets shot. As they flee from the attackers, they run into the police. When the police officers approach to question the group's passports, Luke immediately shoots them all. He quickly drives off. After the incident, the remainers hold a small funeral for Julian and bury her after. Theo realizes that he still loves Julian as he cries in pain seeing her death. After that, Luke drives the team to a safe farmer's house, where the Fish also gathers. While smoking outside, Miriam tells Theo that Key has something to tell him in the cowshed. In the cowshed, Miriam tells Theo that she was told to trust in Theo only. While Theo refuses to get involved in any further trouble, Key takes off her shirt and reveals that she is 8 months pregnant. Julian told Key that she can only rely on Theo to save the baby. To Theo's stun and shock, Key would be the only woman in the world to have a baby at the moment. Luke comes in and explains to Theo the Fish's plan. Later at night, the Fish gathers for a meeting to discuss what to do with Key. While Theo thinks that Key pregnancy should be reported to the government, the Fish argues that government will kill Key even before the delivery as she is a refugee. Fish suggests that Key should stay with them until she gives birth, and the Fish will bring the baby to the Human Project as Julian's planned before. Later, Key agrees to follow Fish. At midnight, Theo hears some noises outside. He sees the two guys in a dust bike earlier in the attack. He discovers that the attack on the car and Julian's murder were both arranged by Luke and the fishes, who wish to use the baby for their own ends. Luke also intends to kill Theo tomorrow. Theo immediately enters Key's room, trying to quickly brief Miriam and Key. After that, the trio sneak out of the house. Theo manages to destroy all the fish's vehicles before the three get in a car to escape. The fish chases after the trio's car but doesn't fire the gun as they worry they would hurt Key and the unborn baby. The trio make it out of the farm and drive off. Theo takes Miriam and Key to Jasper's house. Jasper has a network to make an arrangement for Key to be on the vessel called Tomorrow, which also belongs to the Human Project organization. Jasper tells Theo that he will contact Sade, an immigration officer, to help Key. Miriam and Theo enters the immigrant camp at Bexhill. From there, they will help Key to go through English Channel near Bexhill to meet the Tomorrow vessel. At night, the alarm rings off. From the monitor, the group realizes it is the fish. Jasper tells Theo to take his car and he shows Theo the route to escape from the woods. Jasper decides to stay to distract the fish. When the trio get in the car, Jasper reminds Theo the code when meeting said. It's, "You are a fascist pig." From the bush nearby, Theo sees Jasper being shot to death. Theo takes Key and Miriam to an abandoned primary school, waiting for Sed. While Key is on the swing enjoying the sun, Miriam tells Theo about her job in the past. She used to be a midwife who witnessed the miscarriages of women 18 years ago. Now Miriam promises to Julian that she will help Key until the baby is born. A moment later, Sed, the immigrant officer having a network with Jasper, arrives. Sed makes Theo repeat the password. "You are the fascist pig." After that, the four get in Sid's tank and head to the detention center. At this moment, Key has the contractions, worrying Theo and Miriam. Sed instructs the trio to follow the crowd and pretend to be refugees with the sad faces. Theo, Miriam, and Key get to a bus and leave the center. On the bus, Key continues to have contractions. At night, the bus arrives at the Bexhill refugee camp. At this time, Key is all wet, getting ready for the delivery. Immigrant police get on the bus to drag the refugees down. Being afraid that Key will get hurt, Miriam pretends to be a crazy religious woman, drawing the guards' attention. She is then dragged out of the bus. Theo and Key have to leave without her. The two line up following the crowd to Bexhill. At Sed's instruction, Theo and Key meet Mirechka, who takes the two to a requested room. Key's status is out of control as she is about to labor. Key gives birth to a baby girl with Theo's help. Theo and Key laugh in happiness seeing the baby girl crying. The following day, Sed and Mirechka knock on the door, urging Theo and Key to leave. Sed informs them that fish broke into Bexhill and the National Guards also gather to eliminate them. When Sed uncovers Key's towel, he and Mirechka are shocked at the baby, as they didn't know about her pregnancy before. Sed points the gun at Theo and Key, threatening to turn Theo in for a big reward because he saw Theo on TV last night as the primary suspect in the attack. When Sed hits Mirechka in the face as she keeps bothering him with her foreign language, Mirechka fights him back with a pistol. Mirechka quickly helps Theo and Key escape through a small door slit. Sed chases after the trio firing at the door. When Sed gets out of the door, Theo smashes his face with a big rock. Theo then tells Mirechka about the boat, but she doesn't understand English. He has to draw the boat on the wall to explain everything to her. Mirechka then takes Key, her baby, and Theo to rest for 1 hour at her friend's house before leaving for the boat. After that, the group gets into the city. Unfortunately, the fish confronts the five. Luke takes Key and the baby away, asking his guys to execute Theo, Mirechka, and her friend. However, when a fish guy is about to shoot Theo, the British military also arrives firing at the fish. Theo and Mirechka take the opportunity to escape. In the rain of bullets, Theo has to abandon Mirechka in a corner and rush to look for Key alone. He takes the risk to break into a ruined building. As he hears the babies crying, he gets upstairs. Theo finally finds Key in a corner trying to cover for the baby from the shooting. Luke is also here in the building. He insists on taking the baby away. When Theo brings Key and her baby out, Luke opens the fire at the two. Right at that moment, the military also blows up Luke's position. Hearing the baby's cry getting louder, the refugees in a hall are astonished and awed. As Theo and Key walk out of the building, the fighting stops. Some soldiers even pray and make way for the two. When the two begin to walk away, the fighting continues. Theo and Key reunite with Mirechka. She has prepared the rowboat for them to get into Bexhill's harbor. Mirechka refuses to leave with them and pushes the boat away. Theo rows the boat out and waits at the arranged point. Meanwhile, a number of jets fly overhead aiming at Bexhill. Key sees blood spreading all over the boat. She panics as she thinks it's hers. Theo reassures Key that it's his blood. He got shot from Luke earlier. As the baby cries harder, Theo teaches Key to burp the baby on her shoulder. Key tells him that she'll name the baby Dylan, after Theo and Julian's son. Theo dies just as the vessel tomorrow approaches. Subscribe to watch more videos like this and don't forget to turn on your notification. That really helps my channel. Thanks for watching!